everybody. Hope you've all had a fabulous morning so far. As Ambrina mentioned, we are here now with our product update. And guys, so many slides. It has been a very busy year. We've done so much this year. We've got out 3 new payment adapters. We've got integrations that are coming through. There are major changes coming through from Connect, but at the moment we've put out several quality of life changes, which are really going to make life so much better. If we move on, one of the biggest changes that we've managed to ship so far is the retirement of our classic form builder. So we first discussed the new form builder in 2018 at an academy just like this by Andy G. And initially we were going to take that out of the product around 2020, but unfortunately the pandemic really kind of interrupted that. We have managed now to ship that change within our Jadu Central free release this year. And so, guys, as you move forwards through our upgrades coming through, I know a lot of you are already on Central 2, but as you move through to Central 3, it's really critical now that we start making sure that we have definitely removed all of that old form builder data, because it won't be supported in our Jadu Central 3 releases. That's the bad bit done. Start new features that we've got coming through. We've got a major theme in terms of our SEO changes in Jadu Central 3.1. We've put in, based on feature requests that have come through our Hello Next Feature OS boards, voted for by customers, changes such as the introduction of management for our robots metadata. So at the moment, that's something that's hard-coded in the templates, and it doesn't really reflect the changes to content, to the status of content on your website. We've added that in as an additional set of controls. So there is now a no follow and a no index toggle on each item where metadata is controlled, so that you can individually mark those items as required. We've also got category slugs. So this was a change that was introduced quite some time ago. These were introduced for all our, for example, Photon modern template customers. However, once a category was created, there was no way to go back into the application and change those without contacting our support team, which is obviously very disruptive. We've introduced a new field into our category builder. There is no time element to this, unlike other category functions. So when you go in there and you amend the category slug will be updated immediately and will be reflected on all the URLs which are generated on your application. So this is great because it means this is something that was previously required technical skills, it required contact with Jadu to make these changes, but now this will be something that you can accomplish directly through your control center. We've also got the introduction into our Photon modern templates, but also within the Galaxy's classic templates of canonical metadata. So where we are interacting with search engines, and we have potentially multiple URLs directed to a single piece of content, for example, where there is a friendly URL, there'll be now canonical metadata within the application which reflects whether or not a particular URL is the default and allows these search engines to better identify that this is not a duplicate page, but is instead a different URL for a piece of content that's already crawled. Moving on to Andy.
My turn. So we get a lot of feedback about how usable Connect is. And I've started a sort of program of work to start looking at these small quality of life improvements. Why does it work this way? Why doesn't it work that way? So over the next sort of few months and possibly years, you'll see us start changing a little bits of the UI just to make them easier to use. So the first bits is being able to select case columns from the selector. That used to be a large drop-down list of checkboxes, wasn't sorted in any particular way. It's now been updated so that you can search it and it's in alphabetical order, hopefully making it easier for you to find the right column for your filters. So that's already been released. The other parts are alphabetical ordering of services and case types. Simple changes, but it does make your life easier in terms of finding the right case type or service. You'll also notice that within tab headings for each item, that tab tab represents. There'll now be an indicator of how many items are under that tab. So if you go looking into a case and you want to see if there's any files on that case, it's immediately obvious that there are files on that case now because there'll be an indicator for it. Likewise with notes against the person record. So you're not having to click into them to check. You'll be able to see if there are. Another change that we've made is how we handle the changing of a status. So a status can be one of three types. It can be the initial status, a normal status, or a final status. Once we've built our workflows, if we then go back and change a status, either from or to the final status, any cases that have that status currently wouldn't have a completion date set on them. So now when you go to edit your workflow, you're now asked whether or not you want to set those completion dates or deset them in the case of removing the final status on it.
We've got another couple of smaller features that we've added in. One of them is our widget usage report. So widgets on the site has become very mature. It's difficult to determine which of these widgets are currently in use on home pages and then be able to vet whether or not these stay within your control center. A report's been added so that we can see where a particular widget is in use and how much it is in use on the site. We've also got a new variable being added into Xforms. Often we find that people are taking lots of file attachments for a particular application or a particular form. And so we've added in another variable which allows you to take a behavior based on the total file size that has been uploaded by that particular user within that particular form submission. In terms of our integrations has been like a major part of our year. We've done some really amazing things within our Jadu integrations team. There's also some changes within PayBridge which are coming, which are going to really facilitate our ability to offer additional integrations within the direct debit space. We have put out an update for Veolia Echo. So this is an integration which is part of our Jadu Connect product. I'm hoping that there's going to be more on this and one of the following integrations within this conversation later with Southend. But this is a two-way integration where when there is an update on a case within Jadu Connect, when there is an update within Veolia Echo, information is being passed back and forth, keeping both systems up to date. Our major integration that we mentioned last year in passing, but didn't go into huge depth on, I don't believe, was Brightly Confirm. So we have put out a very large integration with Brightly Confirm. Brightly are within our exhibitors. They're here today. So, oh, there we are. Hands up. So if you're interested, I'm sure they'll be happy to have a conversation with you as well, and we'll hopefully be able to bring you more information on what we've managed to achieve with this. But we've put, as well as the additions within Jadu Central, we have also now extended our integration with Jadu Connect so that we can pass information from Jadu Connect, such as adding a customer to an inquiry within within Confirm and adding more information. I think around the status log, for example, from Jadu Connect into Jadu Confirm. There's also integration happened with Simology Insight. Again, I don't want to steal someone's thunder if they're presenting later. So hopefully we'll hear some more about that later. But again, there's lots in terms of integrations which are happening. I'll come back to the direct debit piece in a moment, but we've been working very closely with Runnymede Borough Council to work on an addition to our event bookings functionality. We've finished the initial release, but we're still going through UAT to make sure that this meets our customers' needs. It really complements our existing bookings functionality, which is targeted at appointments. This is aimed towards being able to book pictures, being able to book rooms, being able to mark a particular asset within a Jadu form and then pay for that interaction. So there are pricing rules and there is the ability to control availability of these. It's slightly divorced from the Microsoft Office Teams integration that we have currently, so it's not as limited by the API restrictions. but it still syncs with Microsoft Office calendars so that you can keep your back office staff working from the tools that they are most comfortable with. And in terms of work that we've already released, I think the last one I wanted to really cover was additions to theme controls, because that comes onto a future slide. So if you're using our Photon modern templates, you'll have seen within Galaxies that there are theme controls. So each theme can specify the way in which you can configure this. In previous releases, this was something that was very limited to Jadu Galaxies, but we've brought this out now into the wider Jadu universe, and so this is now available for the main sites as well. It means that we can design themes which offer customers the ability to manage the look and feel, manage configuration of that site independently of technical resources, giving you more autonomy, and relying less on custom code and coders. If you struggle in terms of finding someone to do these, we can do that thinking up front and then offer these additional controls to you. And that really comes into what we're working on right now, which is a brand new theme for Photon. So this would be a theme which is being offered out the box. This isn't something which comes at an additional cost. It's going to be highly configurable and available for both the main site and for Galaxies. So if you're already on Photon, there's going to be a new option for you in terms of when you're creating a Galaxy to go in there and be adding these controls and configuring a site which is very customizable in comparison to what we've got currently. I'm going to hand over to Andy for the other items.
So the Connect team are currently working on SAML authentication, hoping to get it out sort of end of the year. So that will allow you to centrally manage your users in your back office or your enterprise identity provider. So we're working on that. And of course, there'll be multi-factor authentication native to Connect as well. So if your organization doesn't currently use a identity provider or can use SAML, then we will provide the tools for you to be able to use multi-factor authentication within Connect as well. Back to you.
It's me again, I'm sorry. It's like, I should have put these all in a line, right? Save troubleshoots. But smart mapping is, it sits across both products. So this is a feature of Jadu Forms, but it really is something that really facilitates our integration with our own product, Jadu Connect. Being able to link a form into a Connect case and then pull information back so that you don't manually need to be updating items. The application can go and retrieve the mappings and update as required. It's going to ease the burden in terms of maintaining your interactions between Jadu Forms and Jadu Connect. We are working on this now. It was mentioned in previous academies, so just a heads up, it is the same feature, and we're starting to move into production with this one. So hopefully we will see the end of copying and pasting values from Jadu Connect over into Jadu Forms so that you can set up that integration. And I'm really excited for that one. Direct debit adapters are also super exciting. So for a long time now, we've been able to offer payment adapters for credit cards so that when you're in PayBridge, depending on who your payment provider was, we could give you either a pre-existing adapter or create one for you to link in with your payment provider of choice. There's a number that have been created, and that number has been swelled this year. We have now additional adapters for Vodafone Storm, for example. But we're extending this functionality. For a long time, we've had a single direct debit provider that we integrated with. And we are definitely hearing on our feature boards that there is not only kind of like a requirement in terms of different direct debit providers, but also for different types of recurring payment providers. And so we are shifting the application now to facilitate this. So this is in production at the moment. Initially, again, the provider that we currently support is Bottom Line, and that will be the first adapter that goes out there, but there'll be the possibility that we can add these in going forwards. And I'd really kind of like I know a lot of people have already contacted me in terms of like things that they would be interested in seeing. But if you are interested in a particular provider, let me know so that we can start facilitating these additional adapters and getting these into production. I'm going to pass over to Andy. This one's a good feature.
Back to me again. So we are starting the planning and scoping out of actually adding data retention UIs into Connect. Something that we added to the forms a few years ago. Connect, you need to use the API to be able to redact data at the moment. Looking to make that as easy as possible to configure directly from the control center of Connect. But I need your help. So what I need is for you to tell me what you need so that I can start scoping that out. I can arrange an hour-long call with you, so that we can kind of go through the processes and the requirements that you have to make sure that we factor that into our development. You'll have I'm just asking for an hour of time basically to help me. So if you want to take part in that, please come and see me. I'm around all day, so just come and tell me your name and we'll add you to the list.
Roadmap and Central is first on this one. So we have just put out Central 3.1. That's just been released in terms of these canonical URL and SEO tools. I've clearly not had my Weetabix this morning or my coffee. And the addition of this new events bookings functionality. The events bookings functionality, I should mention, is a premium product. So there will be an additional cost for that. And those costs will be within the updated G-Cloud pricing that will be going live, I believe, in November. We're following up with some improvements and finalization on event booking Central 3.1. Point X. So there's going to be a number of little improvements to that we're working on right now, and then moving into Jadu Central 3.2 throughout kind of like Christmas and the end of the year, where we're working on smart mapping and our updated Photon Theme. Within the new year, that's when we're going to be starting on the direct debit payments adapter. That's when we're planning for that to go out into production. And that's going to be followed up then with improvements to accessibility within the application itself. So James, I believe, is speaking later. There he is, has been out auditing, and we are trying to bring the same level of accessibility that we present on our websites into our application interfaces itself to offer a really accessible environment to everybody. Andy?
In terms of Connect, we're working on the SAML single sign-on. We've also got some other bits and pieces, such as allowing you to manage your shared filters. So if you've got users who have left the organization and they've got, or they own shared filters, you'll be able to reassign those shared filters to different users. Also, being able to assign multiple users or deassign multiple users from a case. At the moment, we have a rule that allows you to assign one user, but in certain situations, you may want to add multiple users. So we're adding those capabilities to do that. And also case field user group visibility. At the moment, case field is, its visibility is determined by its role, but that may not fit all circumstances. It may be that you want a group of users to have visibility of that case field regardless of their role, and we're adding that functionality in. Then we've got multi-factor authentication and the data retention UI work that will be sort of in the new year. Moving on throughout the year, we'll be subscribed to Case, where users can, I think I spoke about it last year, where users will be able to receive updates on cases that they didn't raise, but they are interested in, such as kind of reporting of fly tipping, street lamps and things like that. And then finally, being able to schedule reports, enhance our reporting capability within Connect, and be able to schedule those reports to run at certain times. And I think it's now you.
How long has it been? So it's been mentioned before, mentioned this morning by Suraj in the keynote. He didn't steal too much of the thunder, which is good because Suraj is notorious for showing everything off in the keynote and leaving us nothing to speak about here. You're all in this room because you're the very definition of our kind of expert users, the people that know the software inside out, that push it to its limits and provide us the best quality feedback, either in existing features or new features. You're our biggest champions, the strongest critics. And while we're almost up between a rock and a hard place sometimes, you want us to move fast. You want us to be like a nimble startup. Features, as soon as you announce them, they're in the next release and stuff. And we want that too. And it's very easy internally for us to spin things up, to experiment, to get proof of concepts off the ground. But as soon as we want to get stuff into your hands, to your instances, your deployments, things slow down, and rightfully so. You need and want the things that we put to your software to be tested to within an inch of its life, for usability, for accessibility, to make sure that when it's deployed, it doesn't break anything, and if it does, it can be rolled back. That takes the time. So we've been thinking about it a lot, and how do we speed up the early stage, the experimentation? How can we get things that we want to try, even if they end up getting thrown away, how do we get that into your hands in a way that is fast, easy to update, very easy to toggle on and off and switch off and opt in and opt out, and do that in a way that's unique to you. So if we provide a feature you switch on, that's kind of just within your own experience. You're not switching it on for tens or thousands of people. It's just for you, and you can provide feedback to us, and we can iterate and take advantage of that early stage experimentation. So I'm going to try a live demo. So good vibes, people. As long as the Wi-Fi holds out, we should be all right. If I can break out of this and go, which one's me? So Jadu Labs is a browser extension. It's available in Google Chrome and Microsoft Edge. You can get it from jadu.net/labs or search for it. And this allows us to provide certain features. Not all features are suitable to be distributed through an extension, but certain features that you can play with and experiment with. Once you've installed it, you'll get your little toolbar. If I switch to a Jadu product, there we go. And this list may change depending on which feature you're using. It works in both Central and Connect. Some features only work for the appropriate product. The ones that are on there now range from small, tiny quality of life experiments, not particularly useful, but what you're seeing here is our first steps of, can we inject alternate styles into the software without breaking anything? Can we inject JavaScript and effect changing? Can we build, what level of feature can we deploy? So the first features that went in were fairly basic. We could, we can send that sign-in form. We can replace that lovely image with a nice image from Unsplash. If we refresh that will change. No, it won't change. Yes, it will change. So yeah, not particularly useful, admittedly, but they were the first proofs of concept, and they are there. I'm going to do the rest of this in Connect, just to make it easier on myself. I'll sign into our demo. So once we realized that this all was birthed really because of a feature request that came through Feature OS, or Hello Next, as it used to be called, asking for a dark mode of the software. Some people prefer it, some people get a benefit from having an alternative theme that is not as bright, not as high contrast. So we wanted to deploy that. Obviously, to deploy that across the entire software for multiple people, that's a big task. But we can deploy it through this extension in a way that you can quickly toggle it on and off, experiment with it, go through the software, and help us to find any areas of this alternate theme that don't quite work, that you can report back and say, this area of the software, it could be better, or this is outright broken, or even just say, yeah, this is brilliant, thank you very much, which will be nice. And the research and development we can get from working in this way goes all the way back to our internal design systems. We can say, right, we need to make these changes to how we manage color, how we manage the palettes. We can get feedback from my colleagues in the accessibility team about the color contrast. Is it working? What other options might we have? We can switch out the typeface for an open dyslexic one, if that helps you, if you suffer from dyslexia, or indeed any colleagues you know that might benefit from this. You can ask them to install the extension, and they can be quickly toggled on and off. We've mentioned a lot about generative AI today, and one of the experiments, we'll call it an experiment, is when we look at an element on the page like a text area like this, if we wire up ChatGPT to that, what options then open up? And if we enable the smart editor feature, you see it gets a nice AI-enabled glow. And we can provide prompts that we can send what you've written into ChatGPT. Again, the research and development kicks in and says, right, how can we do this in a secure way? How can we make sure that the access keys are protected, and start to ask the questions about sensitive data. But the basic prompts there would let you say, right, let's simplify that language. And then the machine can go off and think about it. And this is trained with a prompt that says you're a customer service agent, you're going to get this kind of text. You need to provide good suggestions. And yeah, so this goes off and rewrites my Gen Z reply into something a bit more appropriate for a customer service agency. And we can copy that and paste that in. And again, what's important is that this isn't a polished product. It's not the end point. This is the start point of the conversation. If we have this capability, and if we roll this out to other areas of software, or into Jadu Central for content editors or people writing other stuff, what capabilities could you see being beneficial? What could we provide with this kind of technology? The biggest feature that we've been able to distribute through Labs so far is visual workflow. And we talked about this about 2 years ago, about our intention to improve the way that you interact with workflows within Jadu Connect and how you build them out. Workflows you have statuses, you have transitions, and they're connected together. And even once you reach a fairly modest size of a workflow, they become very hard to understand. And we had a round of workshops and conversations with a few customers based off that last academy, and learned a lot about their how they use workflow and their issues with when managing complex workflows. See this one's a fairly small one, but straight away we've got statuses hidden behind labels. So a lot of customers actually go outside the software and draw this out. They go into Visio or even pen and paper. You've seen the screenshots where they're taking up an entire wall just to map out workflows, because to look at this table, it's very, very hard. And we know that, and you know that. So if we switch on the visual workflow feature, that's going to straight away take that table of information and build you in real time what should probably be in your head, in my head, of how it should work. And this comes in incredibly useful if you adopt a workflow that maybe you've not built and you're asked to make a change. It's a bit like diffusing a bomb. I think someone described it to me, you don't know which wire to cut and you're scared of doing the wrong thing. So to be able to see that table of information straight away represented in a visual way is extremely powerful. And doesn't really stop there. You can interact with this diagram. You can hover over a specific node, and it will show you the connections, what statuses and transitions are feeding. Well, transitions are in yellow. The table below is highlighted, so you can kind of match up mentally what's going on. So you can see which transitions feed into this status. The rows are highlighted below, so you can see where that's appearing. And even if it's hidden behind a badge like that one there, it's still highlighted for you. So you can start to understand and make sense of these diagrams. And you can interact with the table below as well, hovering over and quickly identifying and referencing where in that diagram these particular elements are. These can be exported to image formats, PNG or SVG, so you can print them out. You could, so I mean, some of the workflows you guys have built are very, very large. If we go into, I wasn't going to do it, but I'm going to do it. I'm going to go into Blue Badge. Because what is this? This is 43 statuses, 71 transitions, not to mention the amount of forms. This is an absolute monster. And yeah, this is a large workflow. So we're going to just show all the rows. And we're just going to give it a second. But there it is. I mean, we can expand this a little bit, and we can refit it, but even still, it's massive. We can zoom to 100%, and we can start to really dive in, and we can move about the diagram, of course. But you can see just the amount of connections that are required. Jadu Connect's very configurable, very powerful software. If you are blessed with a widescreen monitor, we can split that view. And I suspect this will be one that you may need to send off to a specialist printer if you wanted to get that off on your side. It's like Joey and Friends where he got to walk into the map. More paper. But your settings in Jadu Labs are saved. If you are logged into your browser, those persist. So if you move from machine to machine and you're signed into that browser, those settings are still available to you there. So please download it, install it, tell your colleagues, have a play, and send me some of your workflow images because I'd like to see some. And there's a feedback button built right in there. So let us know what you think. Is that everyone now?
That's everyone.
Thank you.